The 31st ASEAN Summit kicked off in Manila today as world leaders gathered to discuss various political, security and economic issues. On the sidelines of that summit, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi met US President Donald Trump. Prime Minister Modi said that India-America ties are the strongest currently. Listen in.
जहाँ भी गए हैं पिछले दिनों और जहाँ भी उनको भारत के संबंध में कहने का अवसर मिला है, उन्होंने भारत के संबंध में बहुत ही ऊंचा अभिप्राय व्यक्त किया है, बहुत ही आशास्पद भाव व्यक्त किया है। और मैं भी विश्वास दिलाता हूँ कि भारत की विश्व की जो अपेक्षाएं हैं, अमेरिका की जो अपेक्षाएं हैं, भारत उसको खरा उतरने में भरपूर प्रयास करता रहा है और करता रहेगा। मैं फिर एक बार राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप का हृदय से बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूं।
Earlier, Prime Minister Modi and US President Donald Trump met informally on Sunday evening before a dinner hosted by the Philippines President Rodrigo Duterte for the ASEAN leaders. During his engagements, Prime Minister Modi visited the International Rice Research Institute in Philippines capital Manila. Prime Minister Modi also visited the Mahavir Philippine Foundation, which was set up by Manila's Indian origin mayor Dr. Raymond Bhagat Singh. Later in the day, Prime Minister Modi is scheduled to address the ASEAN Business and Investment Summit and is also expected to attend a community reception. Let's tell you a little bit more about the significance of the ASEAN Summit, coming at a time where maritime security is a crucial concern. There is also a growing threat of extremism and terrorism across the world. Nuclear non-proliferation is fast becoming more and more worrying, as is the issue of migration. All these are expected to be discussed at the three-day summit. And then there's the thorny issue of China's aggressive military maneuvers in the disputed South China Sea, North Korea's nuclear missile tests, and overall security architecture in the region, which will also come up for discussion during the summit. The ASEAN leaders are expected to adopt a number of declarations and statements that will provide the impetus for national and regional actions meant to address these issues. Those visuals from earlier when Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Donald Trump sat down, a host of issues ranging from the North Korean nuclear crisis, for which, remember, the United States has also demanded Indian cooperation, and there has been a lot of consensus emerging on that ground as well. Let's now listen in once again to what Let's now take a listen into what US President Donald Trump had to say.
Great gentleman doing a fantastic job in bringing around lots of factions in India, bringing them all together. That's what I hear, and that's good news. And it really is. It's a lot of good reports coming out of India, so congratulations. But it's an honor to be with you. We're rounding the turn for our last couple of stops.
The all-powerful Quad meeting between India, US, Japan and Australia is making China jittery. Ahead of the ASEAN Summit, China issued a statement, and I'm quoting from that. China has noticed the relevant news reports. We hope the collaboration among the relevant countries could comply with the trend of times, which refers to peace, development, cooperation and shared benefits, and conforms to the prospect of common security and development, unquote. A draft of the statement to be issued after ASEAN Summit has skipped the mention of the Rohingya exodus from Myanmar's Rakhine state. According to reports, over 600,000 Rohingya Muslims, remember, have fled Myanmar's military crackdown that has been described by the United Nations as ethnic cleansing. The draft did not give any details of the situation in northern Rakhine or use the term Rohingya for the persecuted Muslim minority. Myanmar's leader Aung San Suu Kyi has asked foreign leaders not to use the term Rohingya for Muslims of Rakhine state. The statement is drawn up by the Philippines, the current chair of the 10-member Association of Southeast Asian Nations. The Buddhist majority Myanmar regards the Rohingya as illegal migrants from Bangladesh and does not recognize the term. India's ambassador to ASEAN, Suresh Reddy, has said that the issue of the North Korean nuclear program and terrorism will be top priority during the summit as the two issues go beyond the region. WION's senior correspondent Ramesh Ramachandran has been in Manila and spoke to Suresh Reddy. Let's listen in now to that exclusive conversation.
The other issue which would be discussed extensively would be the North Korean, the Korean Peninsula issue. Because, as you're aware, this has been really an issue of concern for all of us. And the point here is that these two issues, especially, they go beyond the region. You know, the impact is not just local, it's not just regional, but the implication goes much beyond the region. That is why the EAS provides a unique platform where it brings the leaders of the region, plus it brings the leaders beyond the region to come together in the same room and to have a freewheeling discussion. Another area of interest to all the leaders, and including to the people, is terrorism. And what has happened in Marawi in Philippines has actually made everybody realize how close to home it has come. And naturally that would be an important issue of discussion.
Meanwhile, hundreds of Filipino activists held an anti-Trump rally on the opening day of the ASEAN Summit in Manila. The protesters carried placards declaring "Dump Trump" and were blocked by police from marching further. The demonstrators also burned the effigy of the US President Donald Trump. Earlier in the Vietnamese capital Hanoi, during the APEC summit, Donald Trump had said he is prepared to mediate between the claimants to the South China Sea, where 4 ASEAN countries and Taiwan contest China's sweeping claims to the busy waterway. And continuing to track the latest coming in from Manila, from the ASEAN Summit, latest reports coming in of the bilateral meeting between US President Donald Trump and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, concluding just a few moments ago. That bilateral, which began just about 40 minutes back, is officially over, according to the latest inputs coming in from on ground in Manila. US President Donald Trump and the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi sat down for that crucial bilateral. All eyes on the outcome of that bilateral. Important to highlight here that Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi had said just before that bilateral began that Indian and US ties at the moment are the strongest than before.
राष्ट्रपति ट्रम्प जहां भी गए हैं पिछले दिनों और जहां भी उनको भारत के संबंध में कहने का अवसर मिला है, उन्होंने भारत के संबंध में बहुत ही ऊंचा अभिप्राय व्यक्त किया है, बहुत ही आशास्पद भाव व्यक्त किया है। और मैं भी विश्वास दिलाता हूं कि भारत की विश्व की जो अपेक्षाएं हैं, अमेरिका की जो अपेक्षाएं हैं, भारत उसको खरा उतरने में भरपूर प्रयास करता रहा है और करता रहेगा। मैं फिर एक बार राष्ट्रपति ट्रम्प का हृदय से बहुत बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूं।
Great gentleman doing a fantastic job in bringing around lots of factions in India, bringing them all together. That's what I hear, and that's good news. And it really is. It's a lot of good reports coming out of India, so I want to congratulate you. But it's an honor to be with you. We're rounding the turn for our last couple of stops.
The 31st ASEAN Summit in Philippines capital Manila opened with the music and dance performances from Ramahari, which is based on the characters of the Ramayana. Ramayana, an epic narrative, is a shared heritage among the ASEAN member states. The performers included Armand Ferrer and Lara Maig. The show was choreographed by Alice Reyes, with the orchestra conducted by Hermangild O. Renera.
Ng ulan sa aking bintana, anino ng sangang hinagka.
fit opening of the two-day ASEAN Summit in Manila with a musical version of the epic Ramayana. It's a narrative that connects the ASEAN countries. The story of Ramayana. The shared heritage of the ASEAN countries reflected in the story of Sita's abduction, and Rama's victory over evil forces. In the Philippines, the epic is known by the name Maharadya Lawana and reflects the cultural linkages of India and several ASEAN countries. Indian Prime Minister Modi was among the heads of states who watched the popular performance presented by the Filipino ballet company Rama Hari. The performance underscores the fact that although faith and politics may have changed in the region, India's cultural and historic links to Southeast Asia continue to endure. Bureau Report, WION.